Breaking news in the North Melbourne world. Welcome back to Further North, everybody. LDU has signed until 2032, and it was never in doubt. And when breaking news happens, we go straight to Joel because he's the guru and all this sort of stuff. Welcome along, mate. How pumped are you out of 10?
Oh, no, super excited. I think it was great for the club to be able to get his signature for that length of time. I think the contract's a good contract. I don't think it's, an overblown contract or anything like that. And I think it just goes to show with this generation of us being able to stay together as a club, and the stability that Clarko has brought has been a very good thing for us.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I made a short reel about this just before we jumped on, and I actually sort of pointed at something similar, which was you can question North Melbourne on the field for sure, but off the field, since Clarkson's been there especially, you can't question that we're building something, and we're really building a nice core now of Larky, Sheasel, Wardlaw, LDU, Simpkin, Zerha. Those guys are there and locked in long term now. And now we've got a mold around it. And that's the thing. And is our jump up the ladder going to be in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? Couldn't tell you. But all I know is that people aren't dying to leave this place, and it's for a reason. And I really think that is Clarko. Give me your reaction. What did you think when you opened your phone and saw the news?
Yeah, I was starting to get sort of like that anticipation that he was going to sign soon. I think obviously a lot of the news was sort of coming through that there's a lot of positivity around the club around it, and I think other clubs at this point have also taken their head out of the ring. When St Kilda pulled their head out of the ring, I'm like, we're in the right path now, and he feels like a North kind of guy. Like he seems really happy at the club. Him, Larky, obviously, have got a close relationship, and him and most of the boys, I feel like they would. So I'm very happy about Yet again, I'm just over the moon with him actually signing, him wanting to stay, him obviously seeing a future with the club. I have questions on aspects of his game, but overall there's no question that you would rather have him on your list than not given the opportunity.
Absolutely.
And he's just he's the kind of guy that you want to keep. He's been with us early. We took time to develop. He was early years. A lot of people were questioning his value in the side. And I think we've seen over the time that he's, improved every year and been better every year. And I think that's something that we can, to last year where he was our best player, for a large part, obviously won the BNF. So, this year we'll see how we go again. But I'm just ecstatic with the signing. I think it gives us the ability now to focus on our off-season ourselves. And, particularly, how that actually will weigh up with other clubs and other players. Now we can start to look at those opposed to having to play defense with an LDU at this point.
Yeah, and for a club like North Melbourne, a smaller club that is never going to make a splash in free agency, really. I mean, look, there's been ups and downs and all that sort of stuff for a lot of the smaller clubs in Victoria, especially, which struggle the most because there's no go-home factor. And then when people want to come to Victoria, it's never one of us, really. But, the entire time that free agency has been around, name me did we talk about this last time? Name me a player that is an all-Australian quality guy that's gone to North, Saints, Dogs, or Melbourne, to be honest, and that you really can't name anybody. It's all the same 4 teams in this state that people go to. So North Melbourne have to lock these guys down. We have to do it, and we consistently do it. The only one we've really lost of note is Mackay, and I know that he was a great player for us, and I think a lot of us wanted to keep him. His career has sort of slowly trajected in a downwards fashion, unfortunately, at Essendon, or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at that. But we've kept the right guys around, and you can't question the culture and what we're sort of slowly building at the club. Contract-wise, how do you feel about the years? They didn't really announce money, and I'm assuming they won't. We're going to assume it's the 1.2 to 1.4 million, probably front-loaded as well, more, and then it tails off as it goes on, so we can keep signing players. I think most contracts would probably be like that, especially those long-term ones. Give me any insight you've got on the contract, and maybe your thoughts around the contract we maybe have given him compared to where you see him and his value.
Well, I mean, my understanding is the contract would be around 7 years, 10 million. That seems to have been the talk. And I think, like I said, it's going to be front loaded for a player like him. I think by the time that contract's up, it'll be looking very, very good for us. You compare him to sort of other contracts that are around and out. And I think a slight blessing in disguise in not getting a Harley Reid is currently, I think West Coast has tabled like a $2 million contract in front of him, which I think is just a comparison point for us at this point.
Yep.
So I think we've got a good contract. I'm happy with the contract for him. We're not paying anyone that much next year. I mean, as soon as and Sheasel's locked in for a long time, but if they restructured that, it wouldn't surprise me at some point. The next big ones that we're sort of looking out for in terms of
Colby.
players is Colby. I think we've got Cherry on an exceptional contract now. Last year when he
got him
signed
just before the breakout too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if they restructured his, I wouldn't be too surprised on that as well, because we signed him as a, questionable prospect at the time, with a big injury history, but now he's sort of at the point where, he's an AFL superstar. So, we're pretty good in our contract situation. Our worst one in our books, I would say, is CCJ at the moment.
What's his last year of the deal, isn't it?
This is the last year of that deal, so you'll see. We could potentially splash a bit of cash at that time.
I mean, getting CCJ and Steve off the books, in consecutive years is going to free up a lot of money. What do you reckon CCJ's on? How much do you reckon per year?
He was like 800, I think, or something like that. It was
Was
pretty
he
big
really
contract.
that much?
Yeah, because we paid to get him out, and Richmond wanted to keep him. So, and we gave up Tarrant and a second-round pick.
Yeah, wow.
But, at a certain point, but that being said, we're losing a few of those contracts. I mean, Dill Stevens and Fisher obviously on bigger contracts at the moment, but I'm not too, they're playing games.
I'm not writing those guys off. I think some of the discourse, I mean, this isn't a video about that, but the discourse maybe around some of those guys getting selected, I think has been a little bit harsh. But anyway, look, we'll keep it on track with LDU. The years, obviously not a problem with his age. Was he 25, 20, maybe just turned 26, whatever he is. So the years is fine. I mean, you can, a player like that with his athletic ability, a low injury record. He's had a couple of little things here and there, but nothing too major. You're looking to play to your mid-30s anyway, realistically, early to mid-30s at minimum. So, I love it, mate, and I think this is a massive move for North. You think this is the guy in the midfield to build around? Is this our number one midfielder?
At the moment, yes. I see in the future that he'll be a third or fourth midfielder probably by the time that we're very, very good.
That's a big call, mate. That's a big call.
Yeah. I mean, I see players coming through, like Kirch is eventually going to be a more permanent midfield member. George, I'm hoping, surpasses him in the next 3 years. And then you've got Finn O'Sullivan, who is playing half-back and wing, but his ability to move to the middle is going to be very high. And they're just slightly probably more skilled by foot. But that being said, I love the contract. I love LDU. I think it's a great thing for club culture. Stability has been, since Clarko has taken over, stability has been the most important thing for us. We've gone through so many coaches. We've gone through so many a lot of turbulent times. And I think all these players that have re-signed that could have gone to other clubs comfortably, I think has shown real faith in the, Clarko effect. And I think this patch here that we've got as a club is the exact thing that will lead to success, is that consistency on the field and that consistency across, board, coaches and players.
So there's not really any negative to this deal, I think. I think you're right. I think the years is good. We haven't gone out and done some 10-year deal having to try and keep this bloke around. We haven't given him $2 million a year or anything like that. I think this is really, really good for North Melbourne. And especially with you pointing out, CCJ, I didn't know he was on that much money, to be honest with you. So that coming off the books, Steve-O sort of calling his career quits a little bit earlier, unfortunately for him. But hey, as a financial point for North Melbourne, that's fantastic. So, we are in a strong position. I guess it's just getting off the floor and building a foundation that people find a little bit more attractive, because we do have a little bit of cash to splash. And I feel like Colby's going to sign. I've talked about this a few times with the interstate guys from Tasmania, are definitely wired differently in their brains compared to a lot of the other states, like with Perth and that sort of stuff. I don't think the Tassie kids haven't been growing up in a system where they think they can go home from day one. Like I had mates who made the AFL from Tassie and they knew they were moving from about 15 years old. And I can't see a 22-year-old wanting to go back to country Tasmania, when it's only an hour on a flight and he gets 3 months off a year. So there's my positive spin on McKercher. But do you think this signing can do anything for us this week? Or do you really believe that signings like this cause anything within a club? You know how they go, the signing and the signing lingers on. There might be a little bit of been unnerving around the club, and maybe it has an impact on the playing group. I personally don't really believe that, but do you think there's any weight in that sort of stuff? Do you think it could lift something off us to kick us back into gear a little bit?
Towards the end of Mackay's time, there's a few rumours of a few things that had happened and him not really buying into the group at the time. And I think that kind of stuff is really disruptive towards groups and towards chemistry. With LDUs, I never really felt that situation. Like, it was early in the year, you sort of had, him. It was obvious that he was buying into the club. I don't think there was any concern that he was sort of had a foot out the door or anything like that. And him getting signed early just, I think, for the group. Yet again, it's going to remove that distraction aspect. Like I look at, as I just by comparative situation again, you look at the Horn-Francis situation for us, and unfortunately for a West Coast, where it feels like a Harley Reid situation is becoming fairly similar. You look at that, you're sort of like how disruptive that was for our club and how unsettling that was at the time. Like you're in the media for all the wrong reasons. You're not, being able to focus on the footy. Like I think that really hurt us that year. And I think as a fan base, it really hurt us, obviously. So him signing early, all it's going to do is really positive things for us. It's going to be good for the club. It's going to be good for, morale, and it's going to be good for the focus of our team. So I'm just ecstatic with the sign. I think it's a very good one. It's done early. We're not even at the mid-season break. So only good things forward for us now. And now, as I said, we can start focusing on the free agents that we can chase now.
No, that is completely true. Completely true. And I made a prediction at the start of the year. I said, I don't reckon LDU signs before the bye. I just don't think I wasn't confident in our ability to prove enough to him. And then, to be honest, on his part, I love that he signed super early and I love that he's into the club. But if you're a free agent, I would have thought maybe you'd be dabbling a little bit more, just waiting a little bit longer, because he had all the cards in his hands. You know what I mean? He had the offer on the table. He could have taken his time. So massive respect and massive credit to LDU for signing on quickly. But, I didn't think we were going to get it that early in the season. I think it can really motivate the group. And you can see Larky's reaction. You can see especially Larky's reaction, but all the boys, especially the ones who are signed long-term, they're getting around him. And he doesn't seem like he needs the bright lights. He doesn't seem like he needs the G every Friday night and that sort of stuff. He seems to love his mates, love the club, and believe in the group. And I think that's what North Melbourne's all about. So, yeah, look, I love it that he signed early, and I was a bit of a skeptic on it. I'm a bit of a North Melbourne skeptic in general, just because I've been hurt so many times. You know what I mean? But I think it's massive for the club, and can he be the best midfielder in a few years' time? I don't see any reason why he can't. I don't know why he can't be our A1 every single week, to be honest. And you're right, his career trajectory every year he's got a little bit better. A notorious slow starter, I think, in the first month of the year, and I really hope in the next couple of weeks, hopefully before Carlton, definitely, he can start really exploding.
Absolutely torch Carlton, he will.
Well, let's hope. It's
no hope. It'll happen.
don't scare. Now, if we lose, I'm blaming it on you.
They took Paddy Dow ahead of him. Just remember that.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that makes me feel better about all the things we've done. Anyway, we'll look forward to that game in a couple of weeks. But yeah, look, we just wanted to jump on here really, really quickly. We might leave it there. We could talk about it for ages, how ecstatic we are. But, when I opened my phone, I was so happy to see his big signature and in front of a cool graphic and all that sort of stuff, and all the content they've put out has been really, really nice. And I think, maybe strategically, I don't know. I think they hinted that he's actually been signed for a little bit. I don't know if that's true or not, but I feel like I heard Viney say he's been signed for a little bit now. They just wanted to announce it at the right time. And it was cool that they announced in front of everybody like that on their weekend away. And I think it's cool that they announced it now, because we were a bit flat after Sydney, and we're not super ecstatic going into the Gold Coast, because it's a danger game this, where we could get beaten by a decent amount. And I think this is maybe something we needed to get us through this week. And maybe they could have waited till the Gold Coast game, after the Gold Coast game. And if we go down by a bit, they could have announced it then. But hey, we needed a bit of a pick-me-up. We needed a lift before this game. We got it. LDU, hopefully a roof for life. Hopefully there's no Petrarca situations where he wants to leave or anything like that. But hey, I think we look a little bit more stable right now than the Ds. So no shade on the Ds, but hey, this is where we're at. All right, mate, any final words on this? Any other points you'd like to point out before we end this quick video?
No, I'm very happy with where we're at. I'm just, I don't write us off this week, but we'll see how we go.
I love where your head's at, mate. I wish I had your optimism. So,
LDU
BOG performance, 35 touches, 2 goals. You heard it here first.
That'd be nice.
The Chris Judd game, imagine. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Please subscribe, like the video. Give us a comment down below what you think of this signing. Do you love the years, the money he might be on, his role? How ecstatic are you as a North fan to be witnessing this and just being, a fan of this club while these guys are re-signing over the last few years? I think it means a lot for us. So please subscribe on YouTube. Thank you so much for all the support, guys. We'll chat to you very, very soon. We'll be back after the Gold Coast game for review. So enjoy while it lasts, guys. Put your feet up, get a glass of red wine from the Barossa Valley, and watch an absolute LDU classic on the weekend. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Thank you, Joel, for coming on again, and we'll chat soon.
Thanks, Josh.